Hello, welcome to Daniel Day Sports and Wrestling Talk. I think that's the name of this YouTube channel. I'm doing this video because I haven't done it in a while, and I just wanted to talk about this while I'm waiting for my podcast equipment to come in, which might take 2 weeks. Matter of fact, the last time the person helping me with my podcast, his name is Glenn Moore. So Mr. Glenn Moore said he was going to mail it out before he found out that it was the wrong equipment. He said that it was going to take me 2 weeks. So while I'm doing that, while I'm waiting for that, I'm going to try my best to not only watch shows, but I'm going to try to think about how to talk about them. And I took notes. And by the way, these pictures behind me, the one behind me on the left side, the top is my brother and sister-in-law. The bottom is my sister-in-law. And I'm sorry, I never realized what I'm about to do until it's too late. So, what I mean by sorry is I don't know how much I'm supposed to reveal of these pictures, so I'll just say these are family members. So what I want to talk about is the first ever WCW Saturday Night episode. Because growing up, before Monday Nitro, before Thunder, we would always watch Saturday Night, which meant this was even before Monday Night Raw, most probably. So this, I don't even know, I'm sorry about that, I have a tendency to talk with my hands. So I don't even know, besides the Saturday morning shows they would do. I'm not sure if they had a show for Saturdays at this time for the WWE. So possibly, this might have been possibly the first weekly Saturday night show that we saw when I started watching it. And it was a great show. I think they had a World Lightweight title. That was the first match they had shown. And then they had a tag team match to set up the World US title match for next week, or the week after that. And they had a 2 out of 3 falls TV title, and it just so happens the US tag team title match is also going to be 2 out of 3 falls week after. So it's a lot of great action and exciting. And in those days, they also had a segment early on in that show called WCW Magazine. And it was really interesting because they would show some scenes that I don't think they would show this today because of just the way things are today. But it was really exciting to see because how a lot of this was just really staged because it's a show. So anything you saw, you would see like in press conferences are all pretend. So that's why I say it was all staged. And of course, as a kid, I wouldn't have known what that meant, but now I do, so I'm glad to say it. But what I really like about it, that was great as far as the in-ring part goes, was psychology was still around and people still knew what it was and how to use it. And I put it right here. Fine Brian Pillman had just won the World Light Heavyweight title or Lightweight title against Jushin Thunder Liger, which he always had great matches with him. and he just beat him for the title at Super Brawl. And I'd have to look back, but I believe that Super Brawl also had Jim Cornette's team from Smoky Mountain defending the title against the tag titles against the Rock and Roll Express. So that was another. That wasn't something they had mentioned, but it happened. So that would be another thing to be interesting for me to read about or at least see. So that's something I would want to look at before I see the next episode Saturday night, just for curiosity. And yeah, I believe that they both tried to go for a dropkick at one point of the match, and both looked like they were surprised at it. But what was really great was the finish of the match, where Brad Armstrong went for the side Russian leg sweep, which was his finisher, and talking about psychology and what there really is not only knowing the right time to do everything, but also looking at the audience and seeing when it's time. Which today you can't do that because everything's written normally. And Brad Armstrong, usually when he would hit the maneuver, that's what I always liked about Brad Armstrong, was he would take a simple move like the Russian leg sweep and roll into it for a cover, just like Barry Windham used to take a top rope, to use a top rope superplex and roll into it for a cover. So those things always were interesting to me to see as a fan. And what happened was, because he was not supposed to win, instead of rolling into the pinfall, he hooked the right leg instead of the left leg, so it made it easy for Pillman to not only kick out or put his leg under the rope or over the rope, it made it easier for him to roll out. And that was when he looked at the audience, and next thing you know, he's using, I wouldn't call it a finisher, but it's a signature maneuver. Top rope, not a top rope, but a springboard clothesline for the win. All that was great because of the psychology they used. And you knew when he hit that, this was going to be over, because it was the right time. And the Fabulous Freebirds, they were going to go against the U.S. Tag Champions, the Tailor-Made Man and Ray the Hammer Valentine. And to build up that match, they went against two of the most mismatched tag team partners I've ever seen in my life. Diamond Dallas Page and Cactus Jack. And this was before he became known as the hardcore legend, Cactus Jack. And I could see and hear how much he does deserve respect, because I don't know if a lot of people realize this, even after hearing about Jake the Snake and what a master he was of psychology. But I don't know if anybody realizes this, but I noticed this in his match when he was a legal man, that he knew psychology as well as some of the best in the business. He was not a technical master like Arn Anderson or Ted DiBiase Sr., but he knew it well enough to where he could see what to do next. And he, in this case, this was really great psychology from Michael Hayes, because he happened to be close enough to where he could derail Mick Foley from his patented apron DDT, because he would always jump, not DDT, but elbow drop, because he would do it from from the top of the apron onto the opponent on either the mat or the concrete floor. And he hit Cactus Jack with a right hand, and that helped stop the momentum. Then he tagged in DDP when he got back in the ring, which DDP himself had really progressed for this match, because what was surprising to me was how well he could do a leapfrog. Because he just looks like he can't really move that well, but he only did a leapfrog, but he did it so well, it looked like he should have been doing this for years. And talking about being smooth in the ring, the whole tag team match, even Cactus Jack, who's really not known for being a smooth worker, hard worker, but he wasn't smooth very much. But even he was very smooth in this match because of all the experience he had and how good Freebirds, which, at this point were Michael Hayes and Jimmy Jam Garvin. And Freebirds won with Michael Hayes hitting the DDT on Diamond Dallas Page. And it's a great way to build up, and it just shows how they really do go too long today. That was like 5 to 8 minutes long, and it was already time to finish it, and crowd weren't, disappointed. Now, 10-15 minutes, the crowd wants it to be over. That's because today everything is written, and whereas some things need to be written at the same time, everything being written from beginning to end is too long. So that's why I believe, like Shane Douglas said about 2 months ago, that the independents are the future, because the things that used to make the business work, they use. They don't, there's a lot of times when they don't do the timeouts the way they should, the time limit matches the way they do, but they do use a lot of psychology, and that helps it. And next match was the 2 out of 3 Falls TV title match. It was the main event. Stunning Steve Austin defending against the Z-Man. And I just had to know what the Z stood for, so I looked it up. And I think it was his real name and his character name. Z-Man, the Z-Man before he was the Z-Man, was called Tom Zink. And that, I believe, was his birth name, too. The first fall, and by the way, Stunning Steve Austin, as it's called at this time, he really needed a manager, which in those days they had a lot of in those days, but what he really needed, not just a manager, he needed somebody to not only talk for him, but to guide him along to where he could learn how to talk, and that's what he got with Paulie Dangerously. So I believe hope talking about tomorrow night doesn't bother anybody, but whether you like or dislike Roman Reigns, if Paul Heyman can take Steve Austin and make him a superstar, he can. I mean, I know what he did for Brock Lesnar, but Brock Lesnar really, has that type of charisma that he doesn't need to talk. Whereas with Austin and somebody like Reigns, that they would do better talking once they understand their character than somebody like Brock Lesnar, who is extremely shy. So that's what I think. I think if they were to put Heyman with Reigns, along with him being put with Ronda Rousey, that really is going to be. It would help both competitors. So the whole time he in that 2 out of 3 falls match, he would always be encouraging him and reminding him what what the match is for and what the title has meant for his career, and not to give up. So that really shows what the lack of managers, what how much it hurts the business. And first fall ended with Steve Austin, after he was rolled up. The referee was distracted long enough to where Steve Austin pulled his tights to roll him up, and he held on to the tights for a 3 count. Now, to really describe the great parts of the match that I really like was when they would be using the traditional holds like the hammerlock, which was, I think, the strongest. I think that was the strongest maneuver that Tom Zink used on stunning Steve Austin. So much so that when Steve went for a maneuver, he just pulled him down in midair by the arm to go back to it, and that was really great to see because it wasn't something that I was expecting, and I'm sure the people watching it live in person and on TV weren't expecting it. It was really great, great action. And I'm going to talk about the way the falls ended, because the way those falls ended were really interesting to me. Let's see. Tom Zink, first time I've ever seen this maneuver ever win a match. He won the second fall by hitting a Fez press and then pulling onto the legs for a pinfall. I had never seen that be used to win outside of Lou Thesz himself using it. And I had read before I saw the finish how Tom Zink had won the TV title once. So that's why when I saw this finish, even though it wasn't a big surprise, even though it wasn't a shock, it was a surprise. So I thought, they gave him another shot after that? Because Steve Austin, I don't know who Steve Austin lost the title to, but Tom Zink, being that he, the TV title, regardless of who you say made it bigger, that title was held in such prestige at the time that made you feel like even a U.S. heavyweight title competitor would be more likely to beat Steve Austin for it because of how well he had kept it. Not just him, also Ricky Steamboat and Arn Anderson. Arn Anderson had kept it, I think, for close to 2 years one time. So those are the types of standards that Steve Austin had to live up to, and that started by being managed by Paul Heyman to begin with. And the third fall, because it came like 2 or 3 times in that fall, like he was gonna lose. So when he took the Z-Man, Tom Zink, and he took him, and this was actually his finisher, and I still don't understand how that was okay in their minds to do. He took him and he threw him against the ropes with his throat against it, and he pinned him, and he kept the title, and I'm still wondering how he never injured anybody with that maneuver. A lot of people don't like it because it is scripted or it is practiced, But a move like that, you have to practice that in order not to hurt yourself. What's great about what's going to be great about seeing the next show is the fact that the tailor-made man, alias Terry Taylor, in Mid-South Wrestling. The greatest thing about that is that, the most interesting thing is that outside of the three other men, he was the only one who was not trained by anybody. As a matter of fact, he showed a friend of his how to do the moves he saw on TV. And somehow, because he was gifted in this, and so it's like, how do you get in the ring and not take a bump? Or how do you get in the ring without getting training and taking bumps and in executing maneuvers? So I don't know for sure, but I think that Shawn Michaels might have taken more bumps than Terry Taylor did, and he actually went through some training, and I really don't know if he did, but I would imagine that by the time Jose Lothario graduated him, I'm sure by that time they taught him how to take. Actually, as I think about it, now I know, Terry Taylor was the first person that I know of to go in there without any formal training. But he's also the first person to go in there without learning how to take bumps. Shawn Michaels is the second person I know of to do that. And I actually am really interested in seeing this because the fact that I did not think until I saw on YouTube a few years ago, I didn't think he ever had any success in WCW. He's also known as the Red Rooster in the WWE, and today he's known as a trainer for NXT and he teaches one class of promos, and Shawn Michaels teaches the other class. So it's very interesting to see that match, and what's really interesting is seeing how himself and Greg the Hammer Valentine work, and I really think that they were probably really good together because of the fact that they were so opposite, because that's what worked with the Horsemen. When Ole Anderson was out of the group, and when they needed somebody to take Tully Blanchard's role as the second single star of the group, they put Tully with Arn and had so much chemistry because they were so opposite. And so whereas I don't know for sure how they work together, I think that they probably had chemistry also because of the size difference, the height difference. So that's what's really going to be interesting to see about the next show. And I'm going to end right here, and I see how long I've been recording, and I think that this is great. Or I think it's great that I can do it this long, because this is close to how long I want to do my podcast. And if I can do it like this before we set up my podcast and launch and announce the launch date for it, I can have enough practice to where this can help. I want to say thank you to people who watch this in the future, and don't be afraid to respond. I need responses because I realize how sometimes when I was talking I didn't realize that the microphone wasn't on my mouth, and I'm sorry for that if y'all can't hear me. Thank y'all and goodbye.